Welcome back to our programming Windows Forms applications tutorial. In the previous lesson, I believe we looked at control properties and events, and we saw how you can set up a button click to carry out some things like I think we implemented a little program where you click a button and the background of the form or the background of the main window program window kind of changes color. I know for really uh, uh, how do I put it, for developers or beginners that are very enthusiastic. They would really like wonder what's really the use of something like that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to create a kind of a practical application. Okay, so it's going to be something actually useful. In fact, I actually created a similar program where I work, which kind of helps in it reduces the time which we use to calculate allowances. I'll just go ahead and explain what the goal or what the whole point of creating the application or the work the application is supposed to do. So I'll just bring up Notepad and I'll try to give a little brief overview of the actual job and then what the program is supposed to do. So you see, where I work, we actually the office. If a staff of the office is going to travel, like based on work travel, from one state to another. The thing is, the office has different branches in different parts of the country. So if a staff of the office is going to travel from one state to another state, the travel office or the payments office usually calculates an allowance based on the distance it's going to cover. Okay. Okay, so let me just put some things down. So basically you have travel allowance which awarded per kilometer. Okay, so depending on how far that staff is going to travel, the allowance is going to differ based on the distance, and it's usually calculated in kilometers. Okay, and okay, so I'm not going to tell you how much it is for my office because that's confidential information. But let's just assume, say, for an office, they pay say $20 or 20 naira. I'm going to use my currency. Okay, so suppose an office pays 20 naira per kilometer for every staff that travels. Okay, now you realize that to actually be able to calculate the amount or the allowance you're going to pay a staff that is traveling from one place to another, first you have to know the distance he's covering. Okay, and due to this, because of this, the office actually created a hard copy of the distances between or estimated distances in kilometers between states. Okay, so there is a hard copy. Let's call it hard copy database of uh, of distances. Okay. Okay, so usually the distances are marked as from of distances from a source um, uh, state to a destination state. Okay. Usually we don't really actually in the real they don't use states, they actually use cities in the state, but those cities are actually the major cities of the state, so we could just assume they are states. Okay, so there's a hard copy database of distances from the source state to the destination, from source states to destination states. Okay, so what you have to do now, the work of the payment officer becomes he has to take out that hard copy database. Okay, so it's just the hard copy paper, like it's just a paper on which the distances are written. Okay, and believe me, if you look at that kilometer chart or whatever they call it, it's really it can be confusing for someone who's just starting to who's just getting used to it, or who is just using it for the first time, because the distances I'm going to show you a sample. Okay, not the official sample obviously, but I'm going to show you what it looks like, so you see the difficulty in actually for beginners to get the hang of finding or finding distances between states. Okay. Also, apart from that, because that particular that particular database is actually a hard copy, you can imagine what happens if a copy of that database is made. Okay, or a copy of that paper is made. You see, the more you photocopy those papers, the more the quality of the writing degrades. Okay, so it will reach a point where the numbers written on the chart is almost illegible. Okay, so that becomes a problem. Okay, it becomes a problem because you can imagine. Okay, suppose the main chart was created, say 1984, for example. By the way, that's my birth date. Anyway, um, imagine if we keep using that. Imagine if we keep photocopying that paper, hard copy paper. But by the year 2020, obviously, that particular paper or copy or photocopy of that paper has really lost its legibility, because remember, when you make photocopies, the original copy is always going to be clearer than the copy. Okay, so those are some of the challenges. Of course, there are other minor challenges like footprinting and whatnot, because like the office always tries to minimize the use of ink. That's the ink for the printer, and the paper, of course, for photocopying paper. So it's always a good thing when you automate things like that to eliminate the use of photocopying papers. Okay. Okay, so those are some of the problems which I kind of saw in the process which is made for calculating allowances per kilometer, and I decided to create a little program, a very simple program for the office. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to try and create that application. um, I remember when I did, I think it was a web-based version. Okay, so I used JavaScript and HTML for that, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is we're going to produce something similar, but we're going to do it in Windows Forms application. Okay, so this is just a little overview of the job, of what the program is going to do. Okay, um, before we go on to designing or creating the application, first, I think it's good to list out some of the features we expect the application to have. Okay, so the features we want the application to have, like I said, it's going to be very, very simple. And the things it's going to have is it's going to have like a source. So the user, okay, let me just, the user of the application should be able to choose a source, um, uh, a source starting point. That's for the journey. A source starting point for the journey. Okay. Also, the user should be able to choose um, a destination endpoint for the journey. Okay, so the user should be able to say, okay, the staff is going to travel from, say, Kaduna to Abuja. Okay, so the user should be able to select the cities. Okay, from which point to which point the staff is going to travel. Then secondly, I think that's all. Okay, so this is just, we're going to make it very, very simple. Okay, let's just add one more thing. Okay, so depending on the kind of office, like for instance, like I said, for my office, the amount they use per kilometer is official, so I can't tell you that. So let's make that a variable in the program. So the user, instead of it being a fixed amount, so the user should be able to change the allowance per kilometer. Okay, so we're going to make this like a variable, like we can change it. We can change the amount, so the user can decide to change the amount. Obviously, initially I said we're going to use $20, but that's 20 naira. That's the Nigerian currency. But now I think it might be better if we just allow the user to change, or to select the allowance per kilometer. I think that would make the program much more useful. Okay, so I think that's it. And these are the major features for the program. And then finally, if the user does that with the click of a button, okay, let's just add that with the click of a button, the program should tell, so it should give us an output. It should tell us the distance in kilometers. Okay, distance in kilometers between the selected states. Okay, so that's one. And also the program should also tell us the or tell the user the total amount to be paid as traveling allowance. Okay, so we're just trying to automate. You remember, like I explained in the beginning, it's supposed to be a job for the travel officer. Okay, I know it seems like it's a very simple job, right? He just looks up the database, okay, the hard copy database, and when he finds the distance between those two states, he multiplies that distance by the amount set, approved as the travel allowance per kilometer, and he'll be able to find this, to calculate this. I know it seems like it's very trivial, but if you remember, actually looking into the database can take some amount of time, depending on the experience of the payment officer. That's one. Also, by making it by turning it into this program, remember, we are solving so many different problems that we've mentioned earlier. Okay, apart from that, another major thing we're doing is we're actually facilitating the process. Okay, so if it takes a travel officer, say, 2 minutes to calculate, because he's very fast in looking up the table. Okay, let's say 1 minute because he's very fast in looking up the table. With our program, we believe the user should be able to actually calculate the allowance in less than 20 seconds. Okay, all it takes is for him to just enter the source starting point and enter the destination endpoint and click a button. Okay, that shouldn't take more than 20 seconds. Okay, so the major advantage of this program is time in facilitating the process. Okay, so if the travel officer is going to calculate 100, I know you could say, okay, what's the difference between 1 minute and 20 seconds? It's just 40 seconds, but multiply that by, say, 100 staff are going to, the travel officer has to calculate the travel allowance for 100 staff. You can see where the program actually begins to show its advantage. Okay, so in fact, this is the whole point of writing programs. Okay, this is the whole point of. You will always find out that most programs are written because it's not because that the task at hand cannot be done by a human. No, a human can actually perform that task, but you will find out that with a program, with using a program, that particular task takes a much less time to complete than using the program. And in most cases, you will find out that the difference in time is really not that big of a deal. Like it could be like 5 seconds less. Okay, but the thing is, if you multiply that 5 seconds by, say, a million different or a million tasks of the same type, you'll find out that the 5 seconds begin to show begin to become something very very tangible. Okay, so that's like 5 million seconds, and 5 million seconds is time. Okay, so really that's the use of programs. They are always meant to facilitate the job. Okay, and you'll find out that creating those programs is actually takes a lot of time. Okay, so for some programs, you could say, okay, some task, I know I'm beginning to go theoretical, but I just want you to understand the main reason why programs are created. Okay, so you could think that some task, say X, takes task, let's say task X takes 10 minutes to carry out. Okay, to carry out, and then you will find out that the same task X can be automated by creating a program. Okay, and actually automating this program, or creating the program, or writing the program, can probably take 2 years. Okay, it can probably take, that's for really complicated programs, it can take up to 2 years. For some programs it can take 1 year. For some program it can take a month. Okay, so imagine if that program takes a month. You begin to wonder, why should we take a whole month to automate a process which usually take just 10 minutes? But really, the power of the program begins to show when, after finishing your program, that same task X is carried out, or is carried out a million times. Okay, so the moment that task, if that task is a repetitive task, and each repetition takes 10 minutes, you will find out that by the time it takes you 1 month to create that program, at the end of the day, you're going to shorten the time it takes to, or in the future. Okay, so really that's the whole concept of writing programs. Okay, it can take years and years to create a simple program, but that program can probably shave off maybe 1 minute in the whole process, okay, due to its automation. But at the end of the day, it will take it will be very, very useful, because it's going to cut off a lot of time, depending on the amount of tasks you solve with the program. Okay. Okay, so that's just a little explanation, or a little uh, should I say, overview of what why programmers do what they do. Okay. All right. I think before we end this episode, I really wanted this episode to just be an overview of the whole program we're going to create. Okay. But just to give you a visual hint, I'm going to show you the program which I did, which we're going to replicate. But that one is a web-based program. So let me just look for it. Okay, here it is. I've already opened it. So this is it. It's a web-based, like I said. So you can see these are the cities. Okay, so the user is expected to select the city here. So he can select any of the city here as the starting point, and then choose any of the city here as the ending point. And okay, for this one, I included the number of passengers, but we're not going to include number of passengers in the one we're going to create. Okay, we're just going to ignore that. And then after selecting the from and the source and the destination cities, the user just clicks calculate kilometer allowance, and it tells you the distance between the two cities. So between Benin City and Enugu, it's 254 kilometers, and for that staff, he is to be paid this amount. Okay, and this is the total allowance. Okay, this is the total. This is the allowance per staff. Okay, that's if I decide to change this to two staff. This shows you per staff the amount, and this shows you the total amount. Okay, so that's just what we're going to try and replicate. Okay. Okay, there's one more thing. I think there's one more thing which I did. There's a filter in here. So for example, instead of going into here and selecting the cities, you can see it can become it can become a bit tedious. So I think I added into there is a little filter. Notice if I type A, any state that does not have A in it disappears from the list, so it's filtered out. If I type B, you can see any state that does not contain AB. Oh, sorry. If I type AB, any state that does not contain AB is filtered out. Okay. If I type in ABU, you can see it's only the city that has ABU left in the list. So that's a little filter which I added into the list box, which makes it easier to use. Okay, so the user doesn't have to keep scrolling in. If he knows the name of the state, the name of the city, for example, I want to look for Lagos. Okay, there's no Lagos. Lagos is the state. Ikeja is the capital. So if I'm going to look for Ikeja, I just type IK, and you can see already I have Ikeja here. I can just come and click. Okay. The reason why Abakaliki is showing is because there's IK in the spelling of Abakaliki. Okay, so I'll just select that, and from here, if I'm looking for Kaduna, I'll just type in KAD, and immediately I have my Kaduna, and it makes it faster. Okay, to select the state. So that's what we're going to try and replicate, but we're not going to be making a web-based program. What we're going to do is we're going to be making a Windows Form application. Okay, so I'll see you in the next episode. This is just the overview episode, and we'll start creating the program in the next episode. Okay.